Filming these videos is exhausting. Hi, Tony here, welcome to the channel, and I'm sorry I couldn't resist that terrible pun. Now, although I absolutely love the traditional twin upswept pipes of the Street Twin, and particularly the Vance Hines pipes that I fitted, the US spec ones, without the baffle and with the Free Spirit X pipe, sound fantastic. But to be honest, I've always coveted that Vance Hines 2-in-1 high-level pipe since I first saw it at the launch. The problem for me was the price of that exhaust on launch at over £1,000.
So much money! Wow!
It was just too expensive for me to consider putting on the bike. As I had an end game of that urban scrambler type look for the bike, when I saw the price drop recently for these exhausts, I swooped in and picked one up for a song. And although the finish on the exhaust is that beautiful brushed stainless steel, for my bike that was gradually getting blacked out, that wasn't going to work, so I needed a solution. That's when I spoke to a company local to me. They're powder coaters that I've known for a while. They offer a ceramic coating service using the Cerakote system. So after a quick chat on the phone, I took the exhaust system down there for them to have a look over, and this is what happened.
They don't always come in brand new like this, so it's, yeah, how oil is it? Is it a two-stroke? If it is, it needs cleaning out properly right through. Because oil is a real problem, you've got to really get on that. It's got to be absolutely spotless for this stuff to work. Things like with this, you obviously want this mask off, can't blast that. If we did it, it'd just ruin it. Baffles, obviously they need to be kept clean, you don't want any grit getting in there. So we just bung them off like that, both sides. And then you've got things like threads. Don't want to get blasting the threads where it starts getting notchy when you're starting to putting bolts in. So just screwing a bung into the thread like that. Same with this one here, and that takes care of that. So there's nothing much else on that one that needs prep. That's ready to blast. Threads, we'd want to mask them off. Not really essential. The media we use won't attack the thread. But it's nice. It's nice when it's kept original, clean, shiny looking. We'll just do the head, so we'll mask them off. Okay, so yeah, once we've masked everything off, bunged all the holes, threads, anything that needs doing, we'll then move on to the blasting area. Put that in the cabinet where we use garnet. We use garnet because it's nice and sharp, gives you a nice edge for the paint to hold onto.
Unlike powder coating, which needs to go in an oven to bake, the Cerakote is air cured, so it takes a little while to harden. After 24 hours, 48 hours, it can be handled and it can be fitted, but I was told by Chris under no circumstances to start the engine within 5 days. The heat generated in an exhaust is obviously very high, and if you start the engine and run it through before this is fully cured, and that will take 5 days, you're going to damage that ceramic coating. So I left it there for a week, went and picked it up, and then I was ready to get it onto the bike. For the purposes of keeping this video short, I'm going to start with the bike with the existing exhaust already removed and the catalytic converter, or in my case the X pipe, out. If you want to know how to do that, I will put a link in the top corner and in the end credits to the X pipe video, which details how to remove the existing stock exhaust and take the catalytic converter out. And all I'll do in this video then is concentrate on how to get this new system installed, and this is it. So if you followed the instructions to remove the exhaust, you'll be left with the catalytic converter, or indeed an X pipe in there if you fitted one of those. Now you can just leave that there if you want to. I would probably block the ends of it off, find a little cap to go on to block the ends of it off. Now the kit does come with some infill panels that go on either side, and they bolt onto the top here where the original catalytic converter mount would have been. As well as taking the cat out, you'll end up taking this part out as well, which goes around that way, and that's the part that the catalytic converter mounts to. And there's 3 mounting holes you can see here where this mounts to the underside of the sump, and you'll use those bolts to fit the side infill panels in. These are those infill panels. You've got a little foam part on there, so they will sit just up the inside of there, just to block it off, make things look a little bit nicer. Now from what I can tell, they won't fit in there with this catalytic converter in place. If you don't want to go to the trouble of taking the cat out, you can leave that mounted in there, leave the mount on the front. Because I had an X pipe fitted, I thought I may as well take that out. So I'm going to get on with putting these in place, and then we can concentrate on the important part that you want to see, is getting the exhaust on. These are in, that means we can get on with the real business, and the first thing is to move the horn. A bit harder to film on this side of the bike, just because I'm wearing position in the garage. But the first thing you need to do is change the mount of this horn, because obviously you've got a pipe that's going to come out of here and go through that gap. Now I've already moved mine. The horn originally is kind of out this side, so what you've got to do is disconnect that horn, and then in the kit there's a new bracket that goes on here that just gets the horn out of the way. What you will need to do is to take the rubber grommet off of the back of here, which goes into there. So here's that rubber grommet. You just need to push those 2 metal halves out, and then you can push the grommet through, remount the horn, and then this will mount back onto that bracket. There you go. So just mount the horn on the front of that. That sits down on the plate there. There's a little knot so you get it in the right place, and there you go. Bit of a shame it throws the horn back out here. It was quite nice hidden away. Actually, now I've had a look at this, where I've flipped this to the inside, whether you have the horn pushing that way or that way, the header still fits where it needs to. So I think I can leave that where it is and not have to use this new angle, and I can still keep the horn tucked away out of sight. Right, next job is to get the first piece of header in. What you want to do is pull out the old gasket, and there's a nice shiny new copper gasket in the kit, so just push that into place, and then very carefully put the header back in. So once that's in place, put the clamp back on here, put the O2 sensor in here, and then we can get around the other side and get the rest of it on. But I'll just leave this a little bit loose at the moment, so you've got a little play in getting the other pipes pushed together. Stupidly, one thing I hadn't considered was painting these black. Now Triumph make an accessory set of these in black, but you could just flat these off and give them a paint. I would use sort of high temp barbecue or stove paint. Or there may be some others that I can put on there. So for the time being, these will go on, but on the basis that that clamp may well come off and a new set go on. Okay, back round to the business side, and the first thing to get changed on here is this side panel. So if we pull this off, don't forget to take your Allen key out and transfer that over, because obviously to fit this you will need to use the accessory one with the cutout. Now once you bought this accessory panel, in the exhaust kit comes your stainless steel heat shield that goes in there. Obviously I went to the trouble of having this ceramic coated as well, and whilst I was at it, so it didn't look out of place, I had all of the bolts that are on show ceramic coated as well. So there's just 3 small M5 bolts to hold that in place. In the kit you got 3 little well nuts. They just push into the holes and then you mount the shield onto those. Whilst you've got the side panel off, obviously it doesn't hurt to give things a clean up that you can't get to, and give your rear brake fluid leveler check. And there, with the side panel back in, heat shield in place, we're ready to get the rest of the exhaust on, and the rest of it is pretty straightforward. Next piece on is the cross pipe, which joins the other side. Just give that a push on, and then in the kit you have the springs and a spring puller to hold those, so we'll just pop one of those springs on, and this is where you want to be super careful not to scratch. Once you get that hooked on and pulled in, difficult to do with the camera position, but that spring is on and holds that in place. It's still a little bit loose because obviously we haven't tightened it up at the other side, but I just want to make sure we get everything on first and get everything mounted before we go around and tighten it up. So with that on, it's then a case of putting this top header piece on. Again, take the old exhaust gasket out and push a shiny new one in. First thing to put on is the O2 sensor. It's normally easier. Now these O2 sensors don't have a slip bolt on, so what you tend to have to do is put some negative spin on it, so that then you can put that in place, tighten that up, and it comes up pretty straight. So that's on there loose for now. That has to go into there. That sits nicely. We'll put the clamp back on, tighten these bits up, and then we're ready for the next part. So you can guess what's coming next. These babies go on here, and that's why I left that loose, so we can get those in the right position. Spring clip on each one. We can put the heat shield cover on. Now this is always going to be a tight fit, and in this case, if you've had it ceramic coated, you've got, although it's a very thin, there's still a very thin layer on there. So I just ran the inside of those pipes out with some emery paper and a little bit on there just to put those in. You put the springs on, you know that they're not going to move, and they'll settle down a little bit as things warm up. Next job is you've got 3 captive clips that you can put onto here, and then that's going to allow you to mount the heat shield using the bolts again provided in the kit. That's already looking pretty damn good, and I think I'm quite pleased that I went for the black. They need doing, but apart from that, that's looking good. So let's get the end can on. All you need to do is take this top bolt out from here, and then there's a bracket that goes on there. It comes with all, as I say, the fixings that you need. I had the Motone flat discs on there, which I'll probably put back on because they look nice, but the kit does come with the blanking plates from Triumph. This top shock mount bolt comes off, and in this case I'm using the Motone dress up bolt, so I'll take that off, and the washer, because you shouldn't need the washer when that part goes back on. And then it is just a case of sliding this onto here, and again I'm expecting this to be tight here because of the coating, so I've just given it a little bit of a sand, and then it is a case of just pushing that into place. Before this bolt goes in, you've got this spacer that's in the kit that sits behind that, just to make sure it sits away from the shock as it should do in the correct alignment. And that's the last piece to go on. Oh, I nearly forgot. I've got the Triumph factory blanking plates to go in there. I've already had the bolt ceramic coated, and there is a nut in the kit to go on behind that. So once you've got these all in place, just go round and then tighten up all the bolts, and I'll put on the screen here the torque settings for all of the bolts that you want, from the header mounts right through to this. And then I'll give this a wipe down because I've got grubby hands. We can take it outside, see what it looks like. More importantly, we can see what it sounds like, and to give you a clue, I've already taken the baffle out.
That sounded naughty.
The The ceramic coating obviously protects the exhaust. It should keep this same finish. I know a lot of people complain about the natural headers discolouring. We shouldn't see any discolouring on this. Only time will tell to see if that really works out. But it also has some thermal qualities, so it keeps the pipes a little bit cooler and it helps with the scavenging of the air out of the exhaust pipe. The guys at Malden Shot Blasting did a fantastic job. The finish is exquisite, and you can see from the video how much time and effort they take over getting these done. And it's not an expensive process. I think people think initially, yeah, this is really expensive. For the average exhaust system, you're going to be looking at prices from 100 and 150 £50 upwards, and that depends on how complex it is, how many pieces you have to have done, how much work and prep needs to be put into that. As Chris said, if it's off of a two-stroke machine, they've got to make sure that's spotlessly clean and get all of the oil residue out of it. Mine was an easy job because it was brand new out of the box, so they were able to just mask up what they needed, plug the holes, blast it and get the coating straight onto it, which made that a cheaper job. So if it's something you've considered and you'd like to get an exhaust coated, I'll put a link up in the top corner which can take you away to there, guys. Go and speak to Trevor or Chris and we'll talk you through the process, what the likely costs are going to be and what they'll need from you. And the same token, if you want any other powder coating done, I can highly recommend these guys. By the time I sort the wheels out and get the tyres changed, I think this bike is pretty much going to look how I visioned it in my head, and I'm really happy with that. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. If you've got any comments and questions, you know where to put them. And until next time, I'd just like to say thanks for watching. Take care, or ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Yeah.